This is the Spokane Soccer Show, proudly presented by Flatstick Pub, and I am your bronze medalist host, Benji Wade. On today's show, the glass is half full for Velocity FC as they brought another dagger to Seattle in the U.S. Open Cup. In League One play, however, I think there's still work to do. Meanwhile, Zephyr FC have taken 10 points from a possible 15 following their best win of the season over Tampa Bay Sun and a draw against league leaders Fort Lauderdale in back-to-back road games. All that and a pair of special guests, Zephyr FC midfielder Sophie Braun and forward Kenzie Weinert. But before we get to my conversation with Sophie and Kenzie, dear listener, we have some catching up to do. I want to start with a shout out for all of you who voted for the Spokane Soccer Show in the Best of Inlander local podcast category. We did finish in third place, hence I'm a bronze medalist. But I'll be honest with you, I did not expect even that. It turns out there were over 60 podcasts submitted, and a former Drive Time radio show, Dave and Molly, won first place, which actually makes me feel even better about finishing in third. I mean, I don't know where soccer falls in the hearts and minds of Spokane sports fans, but if you told me it was the fourth most popular sport behind basketball, football, baseball, maybe even hockey, I would believe you. But I do know that the love of soccer is growing, and not just in Spokane, throughout the whole country. So truly, madly, deeply, thank you for listening, and thank you for taking the time to vote for the show. I know they don't make it easy. You have to register. You have to give them your email address and all kinds of other crap. You have to jump through some hoops, which you probably should. If they made it too easy, then the bots would just take over. You know, Skynet is online, right? But it does really mean a lot to me. Thank you. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Enough about me. Let's talk a bit about the recent results for both Velocity FC and Zephyr FC. I will let you know straight away that I am going to have a future guest on the podcast to talk about the USL decision to implement promotion and relegation. I have so many thoughts about it, but I really want to, do my research, do a little digging, ask some good questions of people who would know the answers. And I'm going to have my friend Chuck Booth from CBS Sports back on. It's been, over a year since we did all of our griping about the US Open Cup and the MLS decision to send their kids to that tournament instead of their senior team. But I won't go into any of that today. I'm going to save that conversation for Chuck because he is the first person I thought of when the promotion, relegation, and first division decision was made by USL. And that's going to be a really fun episode, but that's coming soon. I'm also not going to go into detail today about Velocity's win over Ballard 1-0 in the Open Cup, which was followed by a 1-0 loss at home to Naples FC. In fact, as I'm recording this intro, Velocity in Greenville are preparing to play tonight. And so Triumph SC are hosting Velocity. Huge test for this new Velocity FC team. I think it's really going to be an interesting question of how much fitness we can expect from all the international players that have been added to the squad. Who will Lee Wiedemann start tonight? Keep in mind, they just had 3 games in 7 days, and they're about to have the same thing happen again. All that depth on this team is going to become critical, and we still haven't even made it to April yet. So it's about to get wild. Velocity travel to Tukwila, Washington next Wednesday to face Tacoma Defiance, which is the Seattle Sounders MLS Next Pro team. Speaking of kids, if you didn't realize that. That's the team we're facing in the second round of the Open Cup. It's going to be a tough test, I will admit. I think it'll be a lot more youth, a lot of talent. And I'm cautiously optimistic that we're going to get the result we want from that game. So hopefully we can host a third round game, which might even be against it would probably be against a championship team. We can all imagine that. But that is also when the MLS teams join the tournament. So more on that later. That's followed by a trip back home to host the expansion team, Portland Hearts of Pine, here at One Stadium in Spokane next Saturday. Okay, so on the next episode of the Spokane Soccer Show, I'm going to talk about all those games in depth with a pair of special guests, so stay tuned for that. But I am not going to talk much about Velocity FC on today's podcast because Zephyr FC have been kicking ass. 3 wins and a draw in their first 5 matches to start their 2025 spring schedule. Zephyr FC just earned a 0-0 draw with league leaders Fort Lauderdale to conclude a very successful road trip before coming back home to play Brooklyn FC next Thursday, April 3rd at 6 p.m. here at One Stadium. If you recall from last winter, when they went on that long road trip that started around Halloween and ended in mid-December, they got a draw? They didn't get any wins from that long road trip. So to get 4 points from 2 games against 2 very good teams in Tampa Bay and Fort Lauderdale on this recent road trip, following their 3-2 win in that hailstorm, 30-mile-an-hour gust, 40-degree weather game against DC Power here at One Stadium, I am very, very stoked about where things are right now with Zephyr FC. And since recording the last podcast, you probably all remember I took a little day trip to Seattle. And honestly, I could not have scripted a better outcome. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about that experience, and I'm going to focus on one game in particular. And it's not the game that I went there to watch at Interbay Stadium with Velocity getting a 1-0 win against Ballard FC. I'm going to focus on Zephyr going to Tampa Bay because that game showed so much freaking resilience and character from Zephyr FC. And I, for the first time, if you recall the recent video that I uploaded to Instagram, lost my voice that evening at Flat Stick Pub in South Lake Union in Seattle. And for good reason. I mean, they were playing so well on their front foot from the first kick of the ball, playing positive, entertaining stuff. And I'm going to go into these series of tests of character that happen in this game, that at each different chapter in this story of this game, Zephyr FC reacted exactly as you would want your favorite team to react, right? Whether you're a player, a coach, or you're just one of these supporters back home, at every point in that game where they needed to have a good reaction and they had a test of their character, they responded as you would want them to. The first test came in minute 24. Sophie Braun plays the ball back to Hope Heisey, okay? Hope Heisey's being pressured by a Tampa Bay forward. Her name's Cecily Nielsen. But instead of just clearing the ball, which is probably what Hope should have done in retrospect, she tries to play it back to Sophie and effectively just passes the ball to the feet of Nielsen. It's at this point in this game where if Nielsen just takes an extra half beat, maybe a touch, and just picks her spot in the goal, she buries it and it's going to be 1-0. But instead, she just looks up immediately and kind of passes it into the middle of the goal. But here comes Sarah Clark. Shout out Sarah, flying in, gets her feet in front of this shot, which is basically right in the middle of the goal. Crisis averted, still 0-0. And the key here, though, is that Zephyr FC did not get rattled by this moment, and they very easily could have. But they would get their second test of character in this game a short 3 minutes later. So Haley Thomas plays the ball down the left for Amina Ekic. Ekic does what she does best. She goes 1v1 with this Tampa defender, one of Julian Valleran's fellow Canadians, Viviane Bessette, also from Quebec, I should point out. And Bessette clips the leg of Amina Ekic, and it is such an obvious penalty, but ref keeps her whistle in her pocket. It's one of those where it's either a yellow card for a dive or it's a penalty. It just simply can't be neither. Ekic had rounded the defender. She beat her into space. I mean, she did a series of step overs. It was quite brilliant stuff, but it's exactly what we've all come to expect from Amina. And Bessette sticks her left leg out. Didn't get the ball, got Amina's leg instead. So that's the second test of character. And, you know, it's like, don't get pissed off. Just keep playing your game. And that's exactly what they did. I mean, I got to be honest with you. I was a little bit surprised by Amina's reaction. If it had been me as a player, I would have got up and said some, choice words to the ref and been like, are you actually kidding me? Either you give me a yellow card because I took a dive, or it's a penalty. Credit to the announcers on the Peacock stream, though. I should have gotten the name of the announcer. This woman called it out immediately. She was like, it's our job to call it like we see it. And that was a penalty. So that's the test of character number 2 in this game. And once again, Zephyr FC respond exactly how you would want them to. They keep playing their stuff. They don't complain. They don't put their heads down. They go into halftime. It's 0-0. And the third test of character comes in minute 52. Oh boy, you could sense that a goal was coming, and they honestly had a goal, but it wasn't given to Zephyr FC. I'm sitting next to Ryan Harnato at Flatstick, and I felt this kind of need to keep my shit together because Ryan was losing it, rightfully so, to be honest, after the Amina decision and after this goal that was not allowed. All right, so here's what happens. Okay. Amina Ekic takes a corner, lofts it to the near post. Emma Jaskinek is standing on the goal line, sandwiched between a defender who's marking the near post and the goalkeeper, Ashley Orcus. Okay. In a totally legal position. If you watch this happens all the time in many levels of soccer, but especially in the professional game. You will have an attacking player standing on the goal line, trying to establish space. Think about almost like a basketball player boxing out for a rebound, right? And as anyone's ever taught in sports, right? It's like stay low, reach high. Emma has perfect legal position to, she's low. She's got like a stance to go jump for the ball. And here comes this ball. And Ashley Orcus, tries to collect, doesn't succeed. Emma uses her legs, totally legal position, and makes contact with the ball, or some combination of Emma trying to head the ball or Orcus trying to collect. It ends up in the back of the net, and the ref blows her whistle. Doesn't blow her whistle when Amina Ekic is taken out in Tampa Bay's box, but she blows her whistle to wave off this perfectly legal goal. It's like she couldn't imagine that Orcus had merely fumbled the ball or that Emma had simply headed it in. Waves it off, and at this point, if I'm on the team, I probably leave the pitch and go make a protest video and send it to the league. But that's not what happens. Once again, this is the third test of character. The team stays focused, they stay sharp, and I think they up their intensity like another solid 20%. Okay, so here we go. All these tests of character, and finally, they get their reward. 9 minutes later, the press of Ali Cook. All right, she and Emma Jaskinek, Ali Cook and Emma Jaskinek, have been absolutely working Super League defenders for the last few weeks. So there's a clearance made by a Tampa defender, Dory Haugen, and the chase is on for the second ball down the touchline on the right. Amina Ekic is chasing to pressure. Haugen gets to the ball first and plays it back to her keeper, Ashley Orcus, who we just talked about. Orcus must not have seen that Ali Cook was flying across her goal to press, because she just plays the ball out casually to her center half, Brooke Hendricks. It reminds me a little bit of Hope, when Hope was passing it back out to Sophie and didn't see Cecily Nielsen in the first half. So Ali Cook intercepts the pass and takes a shot. It's a kick save from Orcus, but it's not a beauty because the ball ends up in the midfield where Taylor Almer takes just one touch, and she sees that Orcus didn't immediately get back to her goal, right? And I need to give credit to this podcast from Tampa Bay supporters called the RBLR podcast, who shouted this out, that Orcus didn't immediately get back to her goal. She stopped to just kind of wave at her center half, Hendricks, for just a moment to say something. And Almer, meanwhile, has the ball in midfield and uses a little bit of the wind, takes out her pitching wedge and chips the keeper. And it's 1-0. And this is the moment I lose my voice in Flatstick, and we're all losing our mind. I was so happy with how the team had responded to these moments, these tests of character, that when this ball ends up in the back of the net, I just completely lost it. And at this point, Zephyr doesn't completely go into their shell. They're still trying to get a second goal. Short corner routine, minute 65. Ekic crosses the ball in. Orcus can't clear it. Sophie Braun, who's going to be a guest on this podcast, and you will hear from her soon, she gets a good foot on a volley, but it's just over the bar by like a foot. I literally would have erupted. I think all the Flatstick would have erupted had that ball gone in. Natalie Vigiano comes into the game shortly after, one of the most tenacious workers on this team, by the way, and she replaces Kenzie Weinert. There's still like 20 minutes left, including stoppage time to kill off. Tampa get a couple corners, and which is, by the way, still an area I think Zephyr need to work on, set pieces. More on that soon. I think there's warning signs at this moment in the game. This is like minute 75 or so, when a Tampa player gets a free hit off of a corner and volleys it just over the bar, kind of mirroring what had happened for Sophie in her errant shot minutes before. And that's when the shell does go up. Joe Johnson has them playing in a low block when they're out of possession. But in possession, they're still playing it long. They're trying to win second balls. They're using Cook and Jaskinik to press high. When they have the ball high up the pitch, they're still doing positive stuff, trying to keep positive attacking possession. And minute 75, they press high on the left with Haley Thomas and Amina Ekic. And it leads to a string of like 8 different passes between Zephyr players. And Tampa winger Sydney Nasello gets caught ball watching. Here comes Alyssa Bourgeois flying into midfield. Almer spots the run, makes this great pass into AB's run. AB gets a clean strike of the ball, but it's just over the bar. I swear, if that ball's on frame, she's going to beat the keeper. Game starts to open up at that point. Both teams look a little tired, a little leggy, getting a little stretched. Nobody's compact anymore. I mean, I would say that Zephyr, when they were pressing high, we're still keeping a pretty compact shape. But here comes the final chapter of Zephyr's character being tested. Minute 88. Reese Tappen comes on for Alyssa Bourgeois, and she was tasked with staying in front of Sydney Nasello. If you don't know anything about Sydney Nasello, she is one of the best, most potent attacking wingers in the league. In particular, 1v1 overlapping runs. She typically plays on the left, and Reese Tappen goes for a tackle on Nasello near the touchline, just outside the box, and comes up empty. Takes out the player, yellow card, free kick. I'm freaking out because of where it's at. It's just outside the box. And what follows seems like it's going to be a routine free kick for Tampa Bay midfielder Erica Timrak, who had just come on as a substitute. But she takes the free kick really quickly, right after ref blows her whistle when she's ready for them to take the free kick. And Timrak takes it immediately. But what she does is she passes it to her forward, Natasha Flint. Natasha Flint had just been like over talking with Timrak and like pretending like we're going to have a little meeting of the minds and go over the strategy for this elaborate free kick or whatever they're going to do, right? Well, instead, she just runs like 12 yards out into the box, and Timrak passes it right to her. Amina Ekic spots danger too late. She's, tries to close down, but Flint just takes a touch, gets off the shot. I think it maybe deflects in off of Emma Jaskinik. 1-1 tie game. We have almost played 90 minutes at this point. I think set piece defending still needs some work. Just one lapse of concentration and a clever routine from Tampa Bay, and it's a tie game. At that point, we've had the goal line clearance from Sarah Clark. We've had the no-call penalty on Amina Ekic, the waved-off goal for Emma Jaskinik, and finally, we conceded a goal off of just one small lapse of concentration. And so, at this point, I fail the test of character. My head drops in the middle of a flat stick. I'm looking over at Ryan. Ryan's quiet, and it didn't occur to me at that moment that Zephyr were tied 2-2 with DC Power going into stoppage time and scored in the third and final minute off of that Amina Ekic free kick. But I wasn't thinking about that. I thought we had just given up 2 points that we so deserved. And I was sad for the team because we were so good in this game. And I'm already thinking about the whining that I'm going to be doing later and how we got to go to the Ballard game. And I'm going to be a little bit pissed off and sad that Zephyr didn't get all 3 points that they deserved. Meanwhile, I can see out of the corner of my eye that Zephyr are still playing. Natalie Vigiano wins a free kick in midfield about a minute into stoppage time. Ali Cook battles 3 defenders to get off a scuffed shot a minute after that. And then last minute of stoppage time, Emma plays the ball in for Vigiano, who squares it. It's going to be a goal if Molly Rouse can get anything on it, but speaking of scuffing, she kind of scuffs the shot with her weak foot. Doesn't strike it cleanly, but it deflects off of a defender for a corner. And I'm thinking, surely this is the last play of the game, but I'm just daring to believe. I get a little excited. Everybody at Flat Stick is just, there's a hush of like, can we please? Maybe we can just get something off of this corner kick, right? Rouse takes the corner, but keeper goes up high, collects it, and there's only 40 seconds left of stoppage time. I'm definitely thinking this game's over. There's no way we're going to get anything out of this, because I would expect at that point, only 40 seconds left of stoppage time, right? That Ashley Orcus, the keeper who had collected the ball, she's just going to sit on this thing, maybe even get a yellow card, like we're going to get a point. So this is where it gets crazy. She only holds onto the ball for about, I counted, it's about 5 seconds. And she hoofs the ball up the field. Second ball goes out for touch. There's a Zephyr throw-in around the halfway line. And, I looked at the clock. There's still 13 seconds of stoppage time left. I'm still thinking we're in like miracle territory, right? And that's when Haley Thomas throws the ball to Amina Ekic. Ekic passes the ball immediately back to Thomas. And then
it'll be 27 points for Tampa Bay, 19.
Spokane could still change it, and Spokane have won it! In a flash, Ali Cook leaps out of the phone booth and saves Spokane at the death! Who on earth is writing this stuff?
Haley Thomas plays a perfect ball over the top, similar to the one that she played to Amina Ekic against Lexington SC here at One Stadium. It bounces right on the edge of the box in front of Ashley Orcus, who stays on her line. She was caught in two minds. Do I come out? Do I stay on my line? Ali Cook, meanwhile, is running into the box shoulder to shoulder with Brooke Hendricks, who she's been battling all day. Keep in mind, Hendricks, 31-year-old, 5'11" center half with so much experience. This woman has played for Rangers in Scotland, West Ham and Reading in England, Brescia in Italy, Racing Louisville and Washington Spirit in the NWSL. Meanwhile, here's Ali Cook, who's just 24 and has made 14 appearances for the Chicago Red Stars before joining Zephyr FC. It's youngster versus veteran.
Cook claims all 3 points for Zephyr with what surely is the last kick of the game.
And this is just work. That's a number 9 doing what a number 9 does. That's a complete quarter of a chance. No window at all. The near post covered extremely well by Ashley Orcus. And Ali Cook puts it, nestles it exactly where it has to go.
Utterly stunning finish. First of all, my character was restored, and by character I mean I shredded my vocal cords screaming at flat stick.
Run! Oh, let's fucking go! Let's go! Oh my God! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Yes, let's go! Let's go, Allie!
At first glance, I was talking to people around me. I thought for sure she must have made a clean strike with her weak foot because she's a right-footed player. No, she just hit the ball perfectly with the outside of her right foot while jockeying for position with the very experienced center half Hendricks. And I would probably give that like a 0.03 XG, and she buried it. Just an amazing moment that I will look back on this season, and there will be few moments that will surpass this one. Just everything about it, every test of character. I just want to say shout out to Sarah Clark for the goal line clearance, and Ali Cook for the sublime goal that won the game, and Haley Thomas for her inch perfect pass. But really, that whole damn team deserves a shout out for showing so much character in a game that had a lot of challenging moments.
Post, and Spokane wins it! Spokane Zephyr and the long unbeaten home run for the Sun. And Ali Cook is the hero of the night in the USL Super League. A vital 3 points for Spokane's playoff hopes.
A lesser team or a lesser person like me would have been so pissed off at that shit refereeing decision early on, or the goal conceded, or the gimmick set piece, but not that day. Zephyr played to the final whistle, and a moment of astonishing and inspired brilliance got them all 3 points, which were so richly deserved. Up the falls. Okay, We're almost at my conversation with Kenzie and Sophie, but quick technical note. I forgot to hit record on the proper microphones that I use to record the podcast. So the first 5 minutes of this are a little bit janky, but I do have a decent microphone on my camera. So I was able to preserve the audio, thank God. So it's not too bad, but it's also not great. So if you notice a big shift in the quality of the audio about 5 minutes in, that's what's happening there. Also, I did a little bit of research after my conversation with Sophie and Kenzie, and I discovered that they played against one another in college, something that neither of them recalled. Sophie for Gonzaga and Kenzie Weinert for Oregon State. It was in Corvallis, August of 2018, Oregon State hosting Gonzaga. Sophie was a freshman, Kenzie was a sophomore. Sophie played 60 minutes, Kenzie played 48. Kenzie was also booked in that game, and GU won 3-1. Also in that game, Jody Ulkekel, and also current Gonzaga assistant coach Maddie Cooley. Legends, all of you. All right, let's take a quick break, and when we return, my conversation with Zephyr FC midfielder Sophie Braun and winger Kenzie Weinert. The presenting sponsor of the Spokane Soccer Show is Flat Stick Pub, the best pub experience in the state of Washington. Local craft beer and wine, signature cocktails, brick oven-baked pizza, Bavarian pretzels, and the best watch parties for our beloved Zephyr and Velocity FC. If you're not there with me watching soccer, grab a putter and play some mini golf or duffel board or check out the golf simulator. I have to say, as a disgustingly competitive person myself, there's literally nothing more entertaining than having a beverage and flexing on your friends in a game of mini golf. It's a perfect icebreaker too. Maybe first date. I think they won a Best of Inlander for first date, which makes a ton of sense. You'll never have a socially awkward moment again if you spend your social outings at Flatstick. Don't take my word for it. Head down to Flatstick in downtown Spokane or go to flatstickpub.com to book a tea time or check out their latest tap list. The Spokane Soccer Show is supported by Spokane City Credit Union. Are you still a member of a big dumb bank? Didn't I tell you to stop it? I don't even have to tell you which banks I mean. You all know the ones I'm talking about. Well, once upon a time, credit unions were wisely described as a not-for-profit, not-for-charity, but for service. And SCCU still holds that philosophy today. At a bank, you're just a customer. At a credit union, you're both a member and a shareholder. Throughout 2025, I will be updating my listeners about SCCU's commitment to the Greater Spokane Parks Challenge. Speaking of great parks, first up is our crown jewel, aka Riverfront Park. Be sure to join me and our friends at the Northwest Autism Center on April 26th down at the Ice Age Playground for the annual 5K Walk, Run, or Roll Steps for Autism. Come join us to celebrate community, inclusion, and awareness of autism by registering now at stepsforautism.org. Welcome to the Spokane Soccer Show. Kenzie Weinert, Sophie Braun, winger, midfielder, Zephyr FC.
Thank you.
I am so grateful to have you on the podcast. First of all, congratulations on becoming full-time permanent members of the team. That was when we originally had the idea, when I reached out to the club to say, this is awesome news. Our first two loan players have been signed to permanent deals. This is awesome. Let's go. Let's get them on the podcast. And it just took a minute, but it's still fresh in my mind. So here I am congratulating you.
Thank you.
Months later. Yeah, you're like, wait, how many games have we played since that announcement? Yeah, you're a little bit late. And I also have gifts.
Gifts? Oh.
Welcome to the Spokane Soccer Show. How could I did this for Colin and Pierre.
Let's go.
This is me trying to get my swag out to the universe is all it is. Pick a color, any color.
Oh, I think I'll take white.
Are you hat wearers?
I'm going to be now. Yeah.
Not until today. What about you, Soph? Have you ever worn a hat?
I'm not the biggest hat person, but I think this might change me.
It's never too late to start.
You're right. You're right.
Thank you. Exactly. There you go. And you both picked the white ones. I like the white colorway better.
Yeah, the white is nice. Sure it is.
All right.
Thank you.
That's not all.
Oh. Why am I scared?
I'm actually a little bit scared too.
I love Kit Kats. Oh.
That's a Kit Kat for Kenzie Weinert.
That's so cute.
Okay, Nerds Gummy Clusters, rainbow flavored.
Oh my gosh, I love these. How did you know that?
I'm so proud of myself right now.
What?
So, in my research, doing a little bit of Googling, I saw an interview with you on King 5, and it was actually weirdly only a couple months before you joined Zephyr FC.
Yes, and they handed me a kick.
Yeah, and that lady did a great job doing her research. So I did plagiarize her research. But for Soph, I had to work a little bit harder. I had to reach out to family.
Oh my God.
Your brother let me know. I said,
okay, yeah, we eat those a lot together. So that makes sense.
That's so great. So shout out Nico, wherever you are.
Oh, I love that.
That's why you didn't just
Thanks,
get candy.
Nico.
You hopefully got a candy that you won't think is disgusting. So
No, it's amazing.
This is great. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited. That seems to have worked out. Let's cheat that up there, just in case people, I need to give more of those away. Okay. Got that out of the way, but I want to get this out of the way too. Your team is coming off of getting 10 points from 15 available. What is the level of stoke in the dressing room right now, coming off of a really, really successful road trip where I think you played your best game of the year or as a club so far against Tampa Bay, and then bounced back from that. I shouldn't say bounce back, but then took that momentum into Fort Lauderdale and got a really hard-earned draw. Tell me the vibe right now. What's going on?
The vibe is great. We were very happy to walk away with 4 points on the road. I think it's been a really long time coming. So it's just been nice having our team feel so connected, and obviously happy that we're getting points, but just eyes forward, keep going.
Yeah. What do you think the difference was? Talk to me about the Tampa Bay game in particular, and I'll tell you why I want to hear about that game. Coming off of the DC Power game, in the Carolina game that didn't go very well at all, I thought, even though the XG was not that surprisingly off. Did you guys know that? I'm sure you get that data. But the XG in the Carolina game was closer than I would have thought it was, because I thought it was a pretty tough performance. And then against DC Power, that weather, I think, made it impossible, probably to some degree, and you can tell me if you disagree with this, that to really put your foot down and assert yourselves over a team that's been struggling. But a team that's struggling is fighting, right? And that's what they're doing. They signed Gianna Gorley, who's firing on all cylinders right now. So going into that road trip, I thought this is a really important kind of inflection point. So talk to me about where you said it's a long time coming. What do you mean by that, Kenzie?
I think our team, we just are starting to connect well and kind of get the pictures that we want to see. I think our staff showed us film this morning. We're getting the same picture game in, game out. So it's just executing on those. And so I think there's just been some really big moments for us.
Kenzie was describing that it was clicking. All right, Let's do the exact same question, but come at it from your perspective, Sophie, because I'm just curious what your perspective is about that road trip and what did it mean to you?
Yeah, I think it was really exciting for us. And obviously we know playoffs are coming, and if we're going to push, it kind of has to start now. So I think we're aware of the situation we're in. And so they were important points for us. And I think like Kenzie was saying, we kind of struggled in the fall, and we felt like we didn't get everything we deserved in the fall. And I think it was also kind of eye-opening to be like, okay, if we want points, if we want to do well, we can't just expect things to go our way. We have to take control of that. So I feel like this half of season now in the spring, we're kind of doing a better job of that, and trying to control our own fate and make our own outcomes.
Yeah. For anybody, I'm just going to go ahead and say this now. I screwed up and forgot to hit record on the microphones that we're speaking into right now, but I hopefully have good enough audio on the camera. So the first part of this might be a little bit clunky. I think everybody will survive, even though it threw me off and I feel really bad. Okay. I want to key in on what you just said about last fall, and not just the expectations that come from this team, but the league and the women's game writ large. Tell me a little bit about what that's been, what that experience has been like for you as a player and as a person to come into this situation. Brand new league, brand new team. What has that been like?
It's been really exciting. I think just having the opportunity to have more female teams here in the US at such a high level is so important. And I think not only does it open doors for future athletes, but it also lets cities like Spokane kind of have role models and people to look up to. I mean, obviously it's a great city, and I've been here in college, and I love Spokane, and just seeing the youth soccer we have here that now has a team to go and support and watch, and girls to say oh, I want to be like you one day. I want to play soccer one day at a high level. So I think having that here is really exciting. And just the opportunity for high level players like Kenzie and everyone else on our team to be able to play here in the US and get playing time and be able to grow our game. So yeah, it's been fun. And I think I'm excited to see where it goes.
How about you, Kenzie?
Yeah, I think I second that. It's just, it's been really eye-opening to see how many U.S. players had to go overseas to just continue their dream of playing professionally, and having a lot of people back in the U.S. It's just exciting. And then showing, again, that young women can come and play, whether it's in the NWSL, USL, overseas. There's just more options now that will let them live out that dream.
It actually includes both of you. You didn't leave North America, but you had to play outside the country. You did go overseas. I'm going to get into that in a moment. But as two lone players too, I'm curious about your perspectives to go from being players that were loaned from NWSL clubs to then signed to permanent deals with Zephyr. Like, what was that experience like?
I loved my experience in the NWSL, and I think I learned a lot as a player. But at the end of the day, I think I wanted to be on the field more than I was. And that opportunity wasn't necessarily there for me in the NWSL and the team I was on. And I still feel like I was improving and growing, but I really wanted to be able to gain experience on the field. And that's important also when I'm with the national team, just to be playing and in my best form. So that was something that was really important for me. So coming to Spokane and kind of being able to play and still learn and grow, but grow on the field more than I was maybe at Kansas. So that was important for me. And to be able to sign here fully was exciting. And I loved my experience, and I'm excited to see how it goes.
Yeah, I think for me, like, I loved Seattle, and I felt like I learned a lot there. But then coming here, I made great connections with teammates, with the coaching staff, and then again, being on the field. And those opportunities weren't as open for me in Seattle. So coming here, I was honestly so happy to sign here full time. So it's great.
Amazing to hear that, of course. I have to go back into your history look, you can probably see that I'm wearing a Portland Trailblazers hat, right? At least I think I am. Okay.
Represent.
And for anyone out there wondering, the fact that I'm talking to two kids who grew up in Beaverton and Milwaukee, respectively, Beaverton, Milwaukee, it might seem like I'm kissing up to you. And the truth is I am, because I'm a Blazers fan, and I am so stoked about how this year is going. And I can't wait to see where it goes next year. Shout out Scoot Henderson and Tamani Kamara and all those players. Do you guys watch basketball? Do you care about this?
I grew up watching it. Like, I would go to games with my families, and I was into it. Now I feel like I don't follow as much because they were maybe struggling a little bit lately.
Oh, it was rough. Last year was horrible.
Yeah. But I still will occasionally go to some games when I'm back home.
I think they lost Damian Lillard, and I was like, uh-oh.
Really tough. Well, and then we got the third pick in the draft, and we're thinking Scoot Henderson is just going to come in and immediately replace Lillard, which is always unrealistic, and it did not go well. He had a very rough rookie year. He's playing much better this year. I have a point for bringing up the fact that you're from those two respective areas in the Portland market. It's like 20 minutes by car. You're about a year apart in age. Sophie's 25, Kenzie, you're 26. Nope, I have that backwards.
No,
Yep, you're good.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Did you play together or against each other growing up?
Honestly, I don't think so.
Really?
She played for FC Portland.
Yeah.
And I played for like Best, Crossfire, a whole bunch of different names. But we never really crossed paths that much.
Yeah. I did play for Crossfire a little bit when I was younger. So I feel like I knew who Kenzie was, but I was a year younger. Yeah. So we never really got to cross paths, but
here we are.
Now we do, and it's even better.
Wait.
Love it.
And not even when you were at GU and you were at Oregon State, that's still didn't cross paths.
I don't think we
different conference and no. Okay.
Well, we played Oregon State once, but
I don't know.
Weird.
We had to have, actually.
I know. It is weird we grew up so cose.
Yeah. It is, yeah.
Yeah. Friends and Spokane. Who would have thought?
It was meant to be.
It took Spokane to bring you together.
Exactly.
That's amazing. Tell me, the two of you, your soccer story. And I know that this could be long, so maybe just like the moment where you just kind of went, whoa. As a kid, it could have been last week. Just any moment in your life where you just went, this is my calling. This is what I want to do, possibly for the rest of my career.
When I was young, my brother played, and I wanted to do everything that my brother did. And so my parents put me on a men's team or little boys team, I guess.
As one does. Okay.
And they put me on the field and realized I was fast, and I had the time of my life, and I wanted to kick around with my brother all the time. And I think ever since then, I've just loved it. My brother now has come to hate soccer, so it's kind of funny it flipped, but
it's funny. Joe told a story similar to that when I had a conversation with her on the podcast, that she was playing against boys as a kid and killing them. So, hey.
Builds the confidence.
Yeah, exactly. Wait, so why does your brother now hate soccer?
He is a track star. So I think, I don't know, he just doesn't enjoy it as much. Not enough goals for him.
It's funny because I sometimes refer to you as our track star on the team.
Yeah.
So that is actually super funny.
Yes.
What about you, Sophie?
I think I always loved it growing up. It was just really fun for me. I loved the team part of it, and I loved all sports, but soccer, I think, was just like special to me. I honestly feel like I didn't know I even could play professionally until I really got to college. I feel like I kind of came into my own in college, and when I started playing with the national team, I was like, okay, this is so fun. This is what I want to do. And I feel like that's when I really took it seriously. Not that I didn't when I was younger, but I think I had a lot of doubts in myself whether I could do it. So kind of having those doors open was really important for me.
What other sports did you two play?
Played basketball for a little bit.
Okay.
I did gymnastics and...
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, fitting. Yeah.
I cannot say either one of those are surprising. All right. Kenzie, let's go back into your history a little bit. We didn't actually get a chance because, as you know, Sydney and Abby, right, had a podcast together called Megged. And I learned about that podcast long before Zephyr FC even existed as a name. It's a whole story, but Abby and I don't know if you know this, you probably caught wind of this. We did a podcast she was a guest on my podcast. And we did profiles and previews of all the different players. We didn't get a chance to talk about you, Kenzie, because I think you were signed as a loan player at the very last second as a result, I think because of the injury to Alyssa Walker. So I'm going to talk a little bit about your background and learn about your story as a college player.
Okay.
So Oregon State and University of Washington, where as a college player, you had 21 goals and 8 assists. Okay. What type of college player were you? Did you play in the wing? Were you a forward? What were you doing?
With Oregon State, I was mostly a winger. And with UW, I was in and out of the 9 winger.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which one did you play for first?
Oregon State.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then you were converted into a 9 when you played for UW?
Yeah. So I went to Oregon State for 4 years. Graduated, and then I got my master's at UW. And I think I played the 9 for 4 or 5 games, and they're like, go to the wing.
Oh, really?
Similar to here.
Hey, you said it. Well, talk to me about that. What are you most comfortable in those? And the front 3, you switch wings all the time with whomever, whether it's Amina or Natalie Vigiano. Does it matter to you which wing you're on? Do you have a preference? I shouldn't even ask you that because then your opponents are going to be like...
I know. Let's not tell them.
Yeah, totally.
I just love being on the wing.
Yeah, exactly. Not that anybody listens. No one listens to this podcast. I've already warned you.
No, I think I prefer the right, but I don't mind playing on the left or the right. I feel equally confident with either. So
now, you like playing on the right. Is it because you like to take the ball back on your left foot, or is it just, what is it?
I think it's just a little more natural, beating defenders. However, when you play on the left, it's easy to cut in.
Yeah.
Right. But I don't know. It's just comfortable on the right.
I remember I brought up on the podcast, I found a quote from your dad in some publication. It was called Inferno something. It was a blog. And I don't know how, but your dad was quoted in it saying, you were quoted in it talking about your dad and how he trained you or something in the backyard or whatever to be a 2-footed player. Tell me about that.
So he prides himself on saying that I am who I am because I can use both feet.
That's funny. I always bring up the example of Arjen Robben, who was the most 1-footed player ever and had a legendary career. Speaking of players that like to play on the right and cut in on their left foot. Yeah.
Works for some.
It works for some. All right. So after college, you were a national team replacement player for Reign in the summer of 2023. But But then did you make any appearances for them or did you just train with the club?
Yeah, I played, I don't know, a couple games.
Okay.
My first professional game ever, I started at Portland. And that was,
Oh, wow.
that was a dream come true.
Jeez, no kidding.
Growing up, my dad took me to.
Wait, I think that King 5 interview that I talked about in Seattle, they were talking about that game. It was
Okay.
coming up. And it was weird for you because you were from Portland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was honestly a dream come true. Like my dad brought me to so many games there. And we always talked about like, oh, you'll be on this field one day. I didn't think it would be for Seattle.
Yeah.
Seen a little rivalry going on there. But I was so grateful to the club. Like everything, I love Seattle. And then playing in front of Portland, it gave me chills.
Was it weird?
Oh, it was amazing. I was we were standing in the tunnel waiting to go out for the walk out. And my heart was pounding like absolutely through my chest. And all I could think about is Portland has this thing where they like jingle the keys and then like, during the national anthem, they'll say like Thorns. And like, it's just such a loud environment. And to have that be my first professional game, I will never forget. I think it was just amazing.
But being on the quote unquote wrong team, did it even occur to you? Or you're like, whatever, I'm out here to compete?
No, I honestly just felt so much pride. Like, obviously, when I was young, I would have thought it would be for Thorns. Yeah. But then the pride I felt for stepping on the field wearing a Seattle shirt and then having my family in the stands wearing a Seattle shirt with my last name. Like everything felt so amazing. And I'll never forget that moment.
That is awesome. Did you start on the left or the right?
Left. I played left with Seattle a lot. And I played, I think it was 87 minutes. It was my first game in 6 months. I was dead tired. But yeah, it was amazing.
That would have been so exhausting, to say nothing of like the adrenaline of the experience or whatever.
Yeah. And I think we ended up winning 1-0. So
sick. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you get loaned to Melbourne in the A-League in Australia. Is that correct? Melbourne Victory?
Yes, Melbourne Victory, but it was not a loan. They told me to go get games. So then I went to Australia. I know, it was kind of weird.
Yeah. So you were, because you were a national team replacement player. Okay, yeah. I see. I'm following.
Yeah. So they were just like, okay.
Because that's just like, for anybody who doesn't know, it's really complicated. I won't get into the dorky details of it, but like basically when there's a national team call up, so someone on Reign got called up to their national team. Like, it'd be really sick if we could do that here in this market every time Sophie leaves, for crying out loud. But I digress. But basically, it'd be the equivalent of that when Sophie bails on us, like she's getting ready to next week. We can replace her.
It's not my fault.
I am so teasing you. It's such an honor and it's so amazing that you get to replace that player and they don't take an official roster spot, but they get a chance to train and possibly play.
Yeah.
So it's not an official contract. So after that, they were like, hey, go play. And the A-League has been one of the better leagues for American players to play in, it seems like. Jordan's over there right now. Jordan Thompson, who played for Gonzaga.
Aaron Healy.
Sydney played over there. Aaron's over there. Yeah. Yep. Quite a few players. I'm forgetting. Izzy Nino was there. So
Sarah.
Yeah. Oh, right. Sarah Clark was there. There's a long list.
There's a lot.
She had the most banger goal for her club. What's it called? Canberra? Is that the name of the team she played for?
Canberra.
Is that?
Canberra. I don't know. I think is how you say it. Don't quote me.
You can dump on me. It's okay. Canberra. Sorry. Okay, tell me about that experience, because you balled out over there.
Oh, Australia was so fun. It felt like I was like
17 appearances, 5 goals, just for anyone keeping score.
Felt like I was just living a dream. I was like going to the beach, living in a different city, saw kangaroos all the time.
I honestly can't imagine. Every time I hear about players playing, specifically in Australia, I'm like, why would they ever come back?
Oh my gosh. To be honest, why do you come? I don't know.
Kenzie, why did you come back to Spokane, Washington?
I'm missing the beach a little bit.
When it was 43 degrees and hail and 30 mile an hour gusts against DC Power, but that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah.
All 4 seasons.
Yeah, exactly. All 4 seasons in one game. Yep. That's what I said on my podcast. Yeah.
90 minutes.
But it was amazing. I got really valuable minutes and I learned a lot from the coaching staff there, from the players there. There were quite a few girls who were on the Australian national team that I learned. Emily Gilnick was like my little, I don't know. What is the word? My mentor.
Your mentor. Okay. Yeah.
So learned a lot from her. I really just had the best time over there. I loved it so much.
It's so cool. And then wait, what did you go directly from that team back to Reign? What happened there? How did you end up back being signed to a contract with Reign?
Yeah. So I was supposed to be in Australia through, I think it was May. And I got a call in December saying like, hey, we want you back. Can you come? Kind of thing. And so then I was put into kind of a weird situation where I was like, do I finish the year out with Melbourne? Seattle wanted me to come right away. So I think we met in the middle and I ended up leaving in like, I think it was February. I left and came back to Seattle. So yeah, I wasn't expecting it to happen, but super thankful it did.
I think after the first game, maybe the second game that we played, I put a GIF into one of my Instagram stories about you that it was a Sonic the Hedgehog. Do you remember this?
I think so.
And since then, I've now wondered, does Kenzie think that sucks or is she into it or is it okay or does she not care?
Sonic?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's cool.
Call me Sonic. Little sweet stir.
Well, I'm getting this started right here on the Spokane Soccer Show. Kenzie Weinert's nickname is going to be Sonic. Can we make that happen? It's in my notes.
It's true, too.
I'm into it. Okay. It does. It makes a lot of sense. There's a funny symmetry to this podcast, too, because in reverse positions, but I had another 6 on velocity, Colin Fernandez sitting right there, and Pierre Reedy, a very speedy Reedy, ended up his nickname after that podcast, which he claims was not some super popular nickname for him, although he was called that by some Dundee when he played in Scotland. One of his teammates called him that, or maybe it was for Real, whatever they're called. But what's the team? Real Salt Lake?
Yeah.
And then the Monarchs are their next pro team.
RSL.
Anyway, let's talk about you, Sophie Braun. You were, I think, one of the first players recruited to Gonzaga by Coach Chris Watkins when he became head coach there. Does that ring a bell with you?
Yeah, I think I was up there.
He claims that that's the case when I texted him about you.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Did you know he was the first ever guest on the Spokane Soccer Show?
Was he?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Coach Watkins and Marissa Garcia and Kelsey Euler.
No way.
Yeah, we have stories.
Aww.
We have stories here that we're gonna go into today.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, you're one of the very first signings. I would describe you as a very technical player on ball and in your passing. But for GU, it feels like you were kind of in a 4-3-3 with Coach Watkins. You were that 6, that single pivot. And then it's so interesting that Chelsea Lee ended up being like your prodigy. Like, how would you describe that relationship?
I don't know about prodigy, but no, I love Chelsea.
She was your apprentice. Because she stepped into your role when you left. I narrowly missed out on you being part of the Spokane Soccer Show because you finished your soccer for GU in spring of 2023.
Yeah, I stayed for my 5th year and then I left after that fall season in 2023. So I left in December.
No, it couldn't have been 2023.
2022.
2022. Oh, okay. So you did not play in the spring of 2023.
Yes. No, I didn't.
Because then you were playing in the World Cup, which we'll get to. Okay. All right. Yeah.
Let's go first, but then
Mexico. I know. Okay. Let's get into it. This gets a little bit wild. So you were the holding kind of 6 in that 4-3-3 with Coach Chris Watkins.
Yeah.
Any people familiar with the Spokane Soccer Show since the very early days are familiar with that system because I started the podcast by following GU. I don't know if you know that. Did you know that?
I think I did know that. Yeah. Yeah. I've seen your GU work. And it's quite good.
Jody was one of the first people to ever follow the Spokane Soccer Show, and I super appreciated that. I was like, I think that's a player. I knew nothing.
That's sweet.
It's been a total education from day one. I didn't know anything about GU.
Yeah.
I'm a person who, when I moved here, kind of didn't like Gonzaga.
Really?
Even though my wife went to Gonzaga. I know. My wife went to Gonzaga. But when you're from outside this market, the whole story got a little bit old of the Sweet 16 and the Cinderella, the shoes still fit, blah. We just got a little bit burnt out on it. And then I moved here and I'm like, within a few years, I'm kind of like,
drinking the Kool-Aid.
I think I'm kind of into Gonzaga. Yeah.
Good.
Your coach in high school, Jesuit High School, Steve Fenna.
Yeah.
Shout out. Had a quote. We're going deep. Here we go. Welcome to the Spokane Soccer Show. I love this quote. You've said it about him, but calm is contagious.
Yeah.
Tell me what that means to you as a player and how that influences you as a player.
Yeah.
Those are great words.
I know. He was great. I loved my high school coach. I think I've always just kind of been a player that likes to kind of be on the ball and dictate the tempo of the game. And I think I'm calm on the field and I kind of like to spread that to the people around me. So those words have always stuck with me, especially in like any big game I've been in, kind of being able to hear that and remind myself that, I feel like has grounded me a lot, and just reminded me like the type of player I am. And yeah, it's really stuck with me.
Is it still something you tell yourself when you're playing?
It's definitely something I like to remind myself. I don't know if I necessarily come back to that quote every time, but that's a good reminder for me, because I I have forgotten about that a little bit. But no, I mean, he still checks in with me every once in a while, so kind of hearing from him definitely brings that back up. And I learned a lot from him, and I feel like he was somebody that believed in me pretty early on, which was special to me. So yeah.
It was so fun. I mean, you are a fantastic passer, first of all. I just want to point that out. Going back and looking at some of your highlights when you were at GU, it was really cool, too, to see like you playing with now my friends like Marissa Garcia and Paige Alexander. It was so neat to see that in those old highlights and be like, I just barely missed out on seeing Sophie when she was there. But okay, you have to tell me and our listener, and possibly Kenzie too, Club Leon. What happened there? How did you end up there?
My agent at the time had a couple players there, and really I knew we were kind of in the year of the World Cup, and it was really important for me to just get minutes and get game experience so I could head into that in good shape and in good form. So I wanted to go somewhere where I knew I was going to play a lot, and Mexico was a really good opportunity. It's a good league.
Yeah, for anybody, I just want to interject and say it's Liga MX Femenil, which is the women's top flight of soccer in Mexico. And you played for a team called Club Leon. You made 22 appearances and scored a goal. Where were you playing for Club Leon?
I was playing center back.
You were?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I played center back for a whole year there, which I actually loved.
Yeah.
My team was like middle of the table, but it was really competitive. And I learned a lot. I got to work on my Spanish a little bit too, which was helpful. But I really enjoyed it. It was a really competitive league. We got to play in all the same stadiums as the men's teams. So it was really cool. I definitely learned a lot there and got a lot of experience, which was nice. And I enjoyed center back. And now that's what I play with the national team, and a little bit with Zephyr too.
Yeah.
So it was good for me for sure.
Yeah. And 22 appearances. And did that influence the Argentinian national team in terms of your selection, do you think? The fact that you were playing center half for Club Leon?
They knew I could play center back. So I was kind of already playing a little bit in the midfield, a little bit center back with Argentina. Okay. They were super supportive of me being there, and they were really happy with how I was doing at the time. So I think it was definitely good and helped me with the national team a lot.
For Club Leon, were you in a back three, or was it?
We mainly played a 4-3-3. So I usually played on like the left center back. But I really enjoyed it. I honestly had a lot of freedom, like to go up the field, to drive with the ball. I liked it a lot. It was fun. You kind of get to see everything. I'm like, oh, there's a breeze back here. I like it. Yeah. But it was fun. And it helped me work on like parts of my games too that I wanted to improve. Like I wanted to be stronger and more physical, and that was a good opportunity to kind of push me in those areas.
That quote, calm is contagious, and the way that I just saw you describing being able to survey the pitch from back there at that position, I could see that appeal. I couldn't even go anywhere near the middle of the pitch as a player. I had to be on the left touchline. Like that was the only place I was comfortable. I was a right-footed player. Yeah. I have so much respect though, because the moment you're getting run at, that's when I would just panic and I would just lay down and curl up into a ball as a center half. The moment there's like a center forward running at me, I would just start crying.
It's fair.
You're like, I've thought of it sometimes. I
see Kenzie running at me.
Dude, seriously, in training, I can't even imagine. All right, let's get back to you, Kenzie. I have a story to tell. And it involves both your parents, a game that happened against Lexington, and some of your old teammates and their parents. We're going to connect all these dots. This is a true story. Okay. Watching the Lexington game with my friend Heather in the southeast corner. And I could kind of tell just there's something about your parents, and I think I heard them shout Kenzie a couple times. I was like, I'm pretty sure that's Kenzie Weinert's parents.
It's my mom. I love her.
But for real, and at one point they had already stopped serving beer, and I was going to grab a beer with your dad, and we both just kind of looked at each other like, oh man, we can't get a beer. They just stop serving beer, which was probably for the better because of what happened in this game after this, right? All right, so I'm pretty sure it's 2-2. We have to talk about this, folks. And it reminded me of a story. I'll start here. So the Spokane Soccer Show was maybe 2 months old as an undertaking for me. Okay. And I'm showing up and I piloted this whole effort knowing that I would follow the professional teams when they came to Spokane. But at the time, I was just following Gonzaga's historic, amazing 2023 season. Mm-hmm. And I went to the game. And it was a really, really critical game, WCC against Loyola Marymount. And I got recognized by Maddie Kemp's parents.
Oh.
And they're standing next to me and like introduce themselves, and the vibe's great because, you know, it's really cold, but they're being friendly and we're talking a little bit. Like, the podcast has been listening to that. That's fun, et cetera, whatever. And then they give up a goal. Like, it's 1-0 in like minute 20. And they really needed this game. At least that was the theory, that let's not have to go to Pepperdine and win that final game in Southern California to win the WCC, right? So it was really disappointing. Mm-hmm. And it could have affected their seeding. It could have affected the tournament, all this kind of stuff. So they're down 1-0 in like the 80th minute even. So second half, and I'm still, then all the parents are like nowhere near me. And at one point, I swear to God, Maddie Kemp's mom says to me, I'm pretty sure it was a curse for us to stand next to you or something. I was like, what? How would that?
It's your fault.
Yeah, it became my fault. And I was like, because I was big upping the team, you know, I was like, this team's so great. It's going to be awesome. Loyola Marymount, come on, this should be, you know, but you never know, conference play. Mm-hmm. And in like I want to say it was like minute 87, Kelsey is playing up. She's basically playing as like a second striker, and Coach Watkins is just going for it. And she gets on the end of a ball from Amelia Huerta, scores a goal, and thank God, right? I'm telling that story to your parents when it's 2-2. And I felt like, and we were, if you remember that game, it was like, so like, it was, I think Marley hit the post. You had a couple chances, Amina had a couple chances, and just like pelting their keeper, and their keeper was just standing on her head. Mm-hmm. And I stupidly tell that story when it's 2-2, and there's like maybe 3 minutes left before stoppage time.
Oh no. Remember your score.
Swear to God. And I just get the dumb story out of my face. And like, here comes this kid down the touchline, crosses it, and header, boom. It's not only are we not going to get a point out of the game, but I think we had kind of dominated for the most part. Uh-oh. We go home with nothing. And I looked over at your parents and I was like, I can't believe I just told that story.
So that was all Benji's fault.
It is so my fault.
I feel better.
So to all you Zephyr players out there, Coach Johnson, I just want you to know it's all me, and I'm really, 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 really sad. All right. Let's talk about something that is also not as fun, but it's also hilarious in retrospect. The no call penalties on you. What is going on? The game against Brooklyn, you get like chicken winged to the ground by a defender. That was a stone cold pen, right?
Yeah, you know, it's hard for me to say because that girl is one of my really good friends.
Oh no, she knew. This is our theory, by the way. All the 5 and 9 Syndicate people, this is one of the questions that was asked, is you all know each other. It feels like there's stories everywhere. Yeah. Even in the middle of the game, it's like, how's the family?
Yeah.
Anyway, so tell me about this.
The whole game we were a little.
It was a center half, right? Who did this? Okay.
You know, I think it was a PK. I can understand why it wasn't called. The ball kind of like bounced out of my realm, but I was kind of thrown to the ground.
Kind of.
Yeah.
I uploaded that video because I just couldn't believe it. And then, of course, the hilarious one against Dallas.
Yeah.
Which did anybody from that team ever say anything to you about it?
You know, the goalkeeper went up to me after the game, and I was so mad.
Yeah.
It was like in the last couple minutes of the game, so I was not in the mood to converse. But she was like, you know, I'm so sorry. I got the ball, but I also got you. And I kind of just like stopped and was like,
excuse me, what
I don't think you got the ball.
Yeah, could you describe a ball?
I think I looked at her and was like, okay, walked away.
Shout out Erica though. Social media Erica,
Yes.
that video had me in tears.
She sent it.
The wrecking ball, the Miley Cyrus one.
Yeah.
She sent me a text and she said, the first text says, okay, you can say no if you want to.
Okay.
And then followed up with, I have an idea. And then she sent me that and I was like, yep, post it.
Yeah.
Look, it's my favorite post in the history of that page. So I've told Erica this, I was in tears for like a solid 30 minutes because it had been long enough that I thought I could laugh. But then after those 30 minutes of crying from laughing, I was crying because I think we deserved more out of that game. Okay, so I once had Lee Viedman from Velocity FC on to talk about the difficulty at any level of soccer breaking down opponents, okay? And Joe has said similar things in the conversation that I had with her on the podcast. Actually, she said it recently in a press conference, which is basically you can go around, you can go through by playing through the lines, or you can go over the top when you're trying to break down your opponent. You are a big part of our effort to go around and over the top is what I would say. Talk to me about that role in the team and how you approach it as a player. And do you have like a preference? Do you like have games as the track star, as Sonic the Hedgehog, of being played in behind the lines, or these big looping balls over the top from Haley or from Sydney or from Sophie or from whomever? Like, do you have a preference, like how you play as a winger, like when it comes to using your pace to run at defenders?
Yeah, I think sometimes it can be difficult to always just like look for a through ball. To me, I think it gets like a little bit easy to defend, but I think that's when it, like as Joe is saying, like there's either over, through, or around, and when those through like stops working, then that's when I can go around. And so I love either. A through ball I'll run onto. Even if I'm not going to get there, I'll still sprint for it. I think Sophie said,
it's true.
I might just hit it too.
Yeah.
Ready, run. But I love it. I'll always track a ball down. So I don't know. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. No preference, just whatever.
Very, very important.
You two had, I have to remind you, even though it's painful, the most like existential moment yet for the club. She already knows.
What? I want to know.
Game week 1 against Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, no.
Oh, sorry. And there's something going on for poor Kenzie over here because Natalie, back post Dallas. Oh my goodness. You've had goal conversions. It's gonna come. It's gonna come. You said something about that when we're referencing this road trip and the success that you guys had on it, of like it's been coming. Mm-hmm. I feel the same way about the goals. I mean, there's a reason why this team has, at one point, I don't know where it's at now, but the highest XG in the league and the highest number of shots and so forth. So
I'm confident in myself that it'll come. And when it comes, the floodgates are going to open.
They will come in numbers.
Yes, it will.
Yeah. And I'm sure you hear this from both your teammates and your coaches, but it's also kind of like there's a certain level of chill that like is hard to experience as a player. As a professional, I imagine it's still hard, of like, you're still contributing a great deal.
100%.
The work rate, all that endeavor up and down the wings and just killing these poor defenders. Mm-hmm. So anyway, let's get back to you, Sophie. Come on now. We're going to talk about your international duty. So you played for Club Leon, mm-hmm. and then you get a call. Like, when did that happen? So you finished 22 games for Liga MX Femenil. Did you finish the season with Leon?
Yeah, so they kind of are similar to our schedule, where they play like a January to May and then like a July to November type schedule. So it was technically like 2 different seasons, but it was 1 whole year. So I played my first season and then was with Argentina over the summer and then played the second half later in the year.
It's okay. You're skipping something important.
Yeah, it was
There's this thing called the World Cup, folks. Yeah, it happens every 4 years. So the Women's World Cup happens in the odd years and men's in the even years. And this is 2023 World Cup. Mm-hmm. I mean, I have to bring it up because it's sensational. And I can't actually include a clip to it because I'm very afraid of the people from FIFA. Yeah, I posted a World Cup goal, or it was from the Euros last summer. Mm-hmm. And I got my page banned for a week. So I don't dare touch
Yeah, that's fair.
Sophie Braun's absolutely bananas goal. Talk about it. Kenzie, I want you to describe it.
Listen, this girl, put her at the striker.
Dude.
That was crazy.
So I'm fine. Minute 74, your team's down 2-0 against South Africa in the 2023 World Cup. And it's group play, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a fight for possession in front of the South Africa goalkeeper. Defender attempts to clear the ball, and it doesn't get cleared because you are about, 8 yards outside the box. How far out were you? It was you were out there.
Yeah, I think I was a little bit outside the 18.
Not a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah. And you got a piece of this ball, and that piece was all of that ball. And it was on a volley.
Yeah.
And literally upper 90. The most breathtaking goal. I'm not going to keep describing it. I'd rather you just please go. I will include a link in the show notes. I think they call that. You just have to see this goal. And there's a really great clip that Fox Sports put together of like every angle. It has this cinematic music. And my favorite, have you seen this one, Kenzie?
I feel like FIFA posted it.
They post it so much.
I love it every time.
Because why wouldn't they? It was the best. It was Sophie Braun, who's sitting in this room right now and talking to me, scored probably the best goal of the Women's World Cup in 2023. I don't know if there was a better goal scored in that tournament. And my favorite part of that slow-mo one from a million angles that Fox put together with the really cinematic music and stuff, where it's just like, it's like goosebumps every time you see it, is they have a profile angle of the ball curling into the net, and then you can see in the background spectators that are just going like this slowly. Their mouths just go. It's like this old lady in the front row is just like,
oh, we gotta put it up.
She looks like
a lot of Argentina fans.
Yeah, they just look so completely stunned and elated. Oh, it's the best.
Thank
you did that. So
I blacked out for sure.
And you talked about, I saw your interview where you like made fun of yourself for your celebration. And I just want to let you know right now, I am not hearing that. I think it was, it was perfect. It was pure joy.
If you had done screaming and running.
It looked like the best version of us as children playing our favorite sport. Honestly, like if you had done something rehearsed, that would have sucked.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah. And I think the XG, for anybody out there who, I've tried to teach my listeners constantly about what XG means. It means expected goals is one more time. We'll go over the definition. It's, effectively a bunch of dorks who sit at computers, watch games, and they evaluate every shot attempt. Mm-hmm. And they give a value from 0.01 up to I think the highest is probably like 0.96 for like a sitter right in front of goal, which sometimes you miss those. That goal was probably 0.001 XG. It's like you had no business scoring such a crazy goal. Okay. Anyway, you're preparing currently for Copa America Femenina, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have that this summer in Ecuador.
Okay.
So got to get my altitude training in.
But that means we can't national team replacement you. You and I are going to have to talk about this. I don't know.
Season, so it's okay.
Oh, that's right. That's before the European schedule. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'll be prepping real hard in Ecuador.
Okay. You also converted a penalty in a shootout win over Colombia last November. Shout out.
Thank you.
Good job by you.
That was exciting.
And then you followed that up by you got to play against the U.S. women in a less than ideal result in October. We'll just move on.
It's okay.
But you got to play with a bunch of really dope players. Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was really fun. It was cool. Yeah. And we have definitely done worse than 3-0. So it's okay.
There you go. Okay. It's growing. That's
growing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Argentina's coach, Herman Portanova, has you in the middle of a back three. Did I butcher that? Did I ruin that pronunciation?
No, you killed it.
Herman?
You killed it.
Herman Portanova has you in the middle of a back three, which is really interesting. And you already talked a little bit about that. But just recently for Zephyr FC, you've started to play at center half.
I think Carolina was the first game, which obviously wasn't the result we wanted. But I do like playing back there and I feel comfortable back there. So I think it's been nice to kind of strengthen my relationship with the back line a little bit over the past couple of games. So I feel like already from like game to game, it's gotten a lot easier. And
I looked at it as a super brave decision and like that's
Yeah.
going to take a minute type of thing.
Yeah.
But then it has improved so much iteratively that by the time the Tampa game happens, it's just that was one of the stronger aspects of the team that day. So
Thank you. Yeah,
looks like you're having some joy back there.
I love it. It's really fun. And I mean, obviously I'm happy to play wherever. But it's been fun to kind of help the team from wherever I can. And if that's on the back line, I'm happy to do it. And yeah, I enjoy it. It's good practice for Argentina too. So
yeah, exactly.
It's kind of nice not having to jump all over the place. But yeah.
Even in the DC game, I could just see your comfort level. And also the way you were surveying the pitch, the way you described it of being back there and that kind of, you get to see everything.
Yeah.
Like your eyes pop out when you're playing center half.
Oh my gosh.
And you're ready to come. No, stop.
My eyes physically pop out. Don't look at action shots.
in the best possible way. It means you're seeing things. You've got the Terminator vision.
Yep.
And I can just see the way that you shift your vision to like applying whatever you're seeing to your footwork and to your passing. Like, and you like to come forward and make all those progressive passes, line breaking passes. It's pretty sick. And I'm really stoked on how that's coming together. I can't wait to see next week's game without you.
Sorry.
What is that, the fifth time?
I'm upset.
I'm going to shoot for, I'm going for 10 times. I'm going to mention that in this podcast. Okay. I've teased you enough about not joining us for the Brooklyn game. Let's take one quick break here. One more quick break. And when we return, it's time for listener questions and speed round. The Spokane Soccer Show would not be possible without the support of Feast World Kitchen. You know what else wouldn't be possible without Feast World Kitchen? Mouth-watering cuisine from every region of planet Earth. That's what. Feast is a nonprofit that helps immigrants and former refugees in our community become chef entrepreneurs. Barbacoa tacos, yum yum Korean fried chicken, ashak dumplings, lasagna bolognese, warbat bilishta, mango mousse. That's just a few of the delicious dishes being served up during restaurant week. And lucky you, because Feast is open every week from Wednesday through Sunday on 3rd Avenue in downtown Spokane. To learn more about Feast World Kitchen, their current menu, or to order some of that delicious food online, go to feastworldkitchen.org. It fills me with joy to announce that Wildland Co-op is a sponsor of the Spokane Soccer Show. What is Wildland Co-op? Wildland is a small farm, it's a brewery, it's a winery, and it's a local goods market. 20 varieties of beer on tap, guaranteed to be something you're going to dig. A range of fantastic wines and tasty non-alcoholic beverages. So pull up an Adirondack chair on their cherry tree patio and take in all those yummy flavors amidst sweeping views of Green Bluff and the foothills of Mount Spokane. There is literally not a better place in the 509 to gawk at the warm, dreamlike skies during golden hour. I've almost run out of room on my phone taking photos of it. That's actually a true story. The Wildland Co-op is family friendly, everybody's welcome, and if you'll recall, last year, their head brewer, Michael, took me up on the idea of making a signature beer for the Spokane Soccer Show. Remember the double pivot pub ale? We're doing it again this year, folks. No announcements yet, but stay tuned. We're going to do a different beer. We don't even know what we're going to do yet, but we're going to do something really cool. For more information, go to their website or follow them on Instagram, Wildland Co-op. That's wildland.coop. All right, let's do my speed round. This is my favorite part of the podcast. This is for the community, okay? For the fans. How are you enjoying Spokane? For Sophie, it's a homecoming of sorts, but a lot of GU students never leave the bubble of campus. So
True.
What's it been like to come back and play? Like talk to me about how you're enjoying your Spokane life right now.
I love it. And you're actually so right. It is really different being here now with this team versus being in the GU bubble. But it's great. I mean, it's close to home. My brother and sister are at GU, so I'm close to them.
You have a sister there too?
Mm-hmm. My brother's a twin.
Wait.
They're both seniors.
Wait, so you and Nico are twins? Or no, the other two are twins?
Yeah, they're twins.
Okay. What's your sister's name?
Julia.
Did not know this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
that's super cool.
Yeah, it's great. I love being in Spokane. I love the city. I feel like I'm also learning new things. Like girls on the team are like, you know everything. Like, where should I go? I'm like, I know nothing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm learning everything new again, but it's been great. And I have a few spots that I still love and can go back to and awesome memories here. But
okay, I have to ask, what are those?
Well, Republic Pie is like my favorite restaurant ever. Shout
Okay.
out Republic Pie.
Yeah.
I love, and also Method. I really like.
Yeah.
They sponsor us too, so thank you, Method.
Let's go. Let's get Republic Pie.
Yeah,
That's in my
please.
neighborhood.
Please.
I love Republic.
Me too.
Yeah. Kenzie, your parents kind of volunteered to me that you've enjoyed your time here,
Yes.
but Deidre, Mike, shout out. But I do want to hear from you. Tell us Spokaneites how pretty we are.
Oh, it's so pretty. I
You hear that, Spokane?
actually really, really like it here. The waterfall is gorgeous.
Yeah.
So many cute coffee shops. We go to coffee shops all the time. And I actually have my dog here with me now. And
Oh, I saw that.
he's having the best time of his life.
Yeah.
He loves it. So it's been great. I think it's beautiful.
And I have to shout out power soccer couple, Joe,
Yeah.
Truly.
who is playing for the wrong team, but we can't, hey, we all make our choices. But then he's playing for Lexington now.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yep. Scored a banger. Can we insert that?
Oh my
goal?
God, he did.
Yeah. Like insane.
Did a backflip.
In their first game in the USL Championship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the club's first goal. I
And
was telling everyone, I was like, I'm more in love than I've ever been.
dude, Lexington SC, if you're out there, pay that man more, because I swear that goal alone probably helped them fill those stands more.
Insane.
And let's be honest, Lexington's had a very difficult time getting more than 5 people to show up. So since they've gone into the championship, the attendance has been better, and Joe's goal is certainly not hurting. But we're not here to talk about Joe. Okay, you were telling Spokane how great they are. Okay, what else do I have here? Earliest soccer memory.
Earliest. Okay.
Like the first thing you can remember of just going, oh yeah, that happened.
I'm going way early.
Let's go, yeah.
Okay.
Mine is when I was 8 years old, so.
Okay, amazing. When I first started playing soccer, it was probably rec at this point. I was on a team and my nickname was Gamer because I literally didn't want to practice. I just wanted to play games. I wanted every training session just to be games.
Can we scrimmage? Yeah.
Yeah, so that was my nickname. That's probably my earliest.
Gamer. That's amazing.
I still feel that way.
Yeah.
Right?
It's just
I'm
like,
I was on to something.
Even 5-a-side, you'd rather just do that than. Okay.
I love 5-a-side.
Okay.
That's fun.
It's fun to watch those. They get intense.
Yeah, I do.
I sometimes worry about y'all. I'm like, somebody gonna get hurt out here?
It's all out for 5-a-side. It is.
Because competitive athletes are maniacs.
Yeah.
And 5-a-side is still life or death. Anyway, what's your earliest soccer memory,
Actually,
Kenzie?
I feel like I have a funny one. I was playing in an indoor field, and the morning of my game, I asked my dad, I was like, do you think it would hurt if you kicked the ball against the wall and it went into your stomach? And in that game, that happened to me, and I went up to my parents and I was like, it hurt.
So your first memory is kind of a traumatic one.
Well, okay.
Happy you stayed with the game.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Who is the GOAT? Men, women, doesn't matter. Who's the GOAT for you for soccer?
Messi.
I knew she was gonna
Yeah,
say
that's
that.
an easy one.
Messi.
Sorry.
Oh, good. 2 Messis.
Let's go.
Let's go. Yeah, that's always the correct answer.
Yeah.
Okay. Women players. Let's go. Who's your favorite?
Marta.
Yeah.
I love Sam Kerr.
Oh, nice.
Great striker.
And I think she's recently, I was talking to Jamie the other day, I think she's recently back in training.
Yeah, I think she is.
Okay.
She's on the come up.
Yeah.
It's time.
Let's go. Chelsea.
I remember shouting out that goal that Marta scored last fall. It was the most insane. She's putting kids on the floor.
Yeah.
And literally kids for her because she's the GOAT and is still balling.
No, she's
crazy.
Her, Alex Morgan. There's too many to pick from.
There is. It's true. I'm a Bon Mati fan. The Spanish national team is. Who do you model your game after? Start with you, Soph.
I feel like growing up, I was a big Thorns fan, so I really liked Tobin Heath.
Oh, of
And
course.
I'm going to butcher her name, but this is Amandine Henry. She
Okay.
played at the Thorns a while ago. Now she's, I think, in Mexico, but she's a French player. She's really good. And Lindsay Horan, I feel like I watched them growing up and looked to them a lot, but I mean, I don't play their positions now. So.
I was going to say Tobin Heath. Wow.
Straight away.
One of the best 1v1 attackers of all time.
Literally.
Yeah.
I just loved how technical she
Just a
was.
magician. How
Yeah.
about you, Kenzie?
Alex Morgan.
Okay.
Especially when she first started, she was a winger.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to be just like her.
Yeah, and by the end of her career, she was kind of a poacher. Yeah.
Well, maybe
Wasn't she
that's what I
playing?
need
Was she playing a 9 when she finished?
Yeah.
Holes in the backs of socks.
No, please no. Kenzie.
Listen, I went through a phase
Did you do it?
in Australia.
Don't do it now though.
No, I do not.
Is it because your calves were so strong?
You know, what,
You would get hate here, I think.
and I think I got hate in Australia. But me and my outside back, we would do it, and I don't know why I did it.
Do you feel like there's a difference?
For a little bit, I think I psyched myself out to
Yeah,
think that my
like a
calves
pussy
weren't
bow.
getting sore.
Yeah, and cramping.
They in
Okay.
fact were. So.
It's so funny to me because Colin made fun of it on the podcast. And then he talked about how he chooses to wear the tiny socks
I was
and
gonna
the
say,
tiny
I'm
shin
pretty sure
pads.
his socks are
Uh-huh.
like this tall.
Oh, yeah, which I dunked on him for because I'm
Yeah.
like, what's up with the you're doing the Jack Grealish thing? And he says, because of my calves. I'm like, well, that's
the
why the
same
holes
thing.
in the socks people do it, dude. Be consistent, Colin Fernandez. All right. Sophie, tell us what your, the ideal 6 does as a position.
Oh. Honestly, I feel like the 6 is kind of the quarterback of the team. Like, I
Mhm.
feel like that's the way I've always grown up looking at it. Kind of dictate tempo, switch the ball, want to be in control, there to clean things up when you need to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think probably that.
You have to do a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything. Yeah.
Wingers.
Attack.
Do you call yourself a forward or a winger? I didn't know what to write when I was putting you down on the sheet of
Winger.
paper. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Attack. Score goals. Be aggressive.
Okay.
Track back.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Wing back. Shout out at me.
Yeah.
That came up in the Velocity Centered podcast with Colin and Pierre about how Lee doesn't tolerate wingers who don't track back.
Yeah.
And I know that there's a consistency and there's some themes between the two clubs. And I know that Coach Joe and Coach Lee talk. So I'm sure that she feels the same way. That
I honestly think when wingers don't track back, it kind of puts that team in a messy position.
yeah, for sure.
We don't have those problems.
No.
We have Kenzie.
Stop. No way. Sophie, talk about Kenzie.
Aw.
I feel like Kenzie is so easy to talk about because she's an amazing player, but she's genuinely like an amazing person, an even better person than a player, which is hard to believe. But yeah, she's one of my closest friends here, and I'm thankful that I get to play on the same team as her. And she's amazing on the field. I know she hasn't scored as many goals as she would like to this season, but she is truly involved in every goal we score. And she's the reason why we have a lot of the success we do on the field. So she probably doesn't get enough credit. And she, I know, is down on herself more than she should be.
Oh,
but
dude. Okay, fine.
she's awesome.
I have to piggyback on that description. And because the truth is, I've talked about you a lot as a player here today, but I think the impact you have on other teams is what I typically observe, because it can be a very easy thing to not go notice when you're just thinking strictly goal contributions. But when you look at center halves and wingers and fullbacks and wingers on the other teams after they've played against you for 80 minutes plus, it's honestly measurable. I wish I could see the trackers for those players and like where they're at with like the number of paces, like their heart rate, like all the things, like their blood pressure. The impact that you have on opposing defenders is like, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
So do not worry about the goal contributions for now, because those are gonna be there. Just keep terrorizing fullbacks and center backs. Like that's what you're doing such a good job of. Congratulations, Sophie and Kenzie. You have survived the crucible known as the Spokane Soccer Show. Thank you both so much for coming on the podcast. I can't wait to see both of you play in the coming weeks. You've been such great sports to do this and such a joy to watch. I mean, I feel a weird amount of investment in both of the teams. And every time I meet players, it's like, I want to convey to you, not only do I do the dorky version of paying attention to your play, but I also feel a great deal of like emotional investment and attachment to your success as not just players, but as people, especially because you live in our town. And I think that's just it's one of the things that I find the most compelling about soccer's growth in our country right now is being able to do this. This is so wonderful. So thank you for coming on the Spokane Soccer Show. All right, folks, don't forget to show up on Thursday, 5 p.m. to watch Zephyr FC take on Brooklyn here at One Stadium. I think it's at 6 o'clock. I am not going to give you a hard time right now.
Thank you.
Oh, I got the time wrong. And I also can't read this. It's at 6. I'm pretty sure it's at 6 p.m. And thank you for everyone who supports the Spokane Soccer Show. I got voted 3rd place in the Best of Inlander.
Let's go.
And the number one thing was a drive time radio show, Ken and Molly.
Doesn't count.
No, and I'm not dunking on them. They lost their job and had a radio show, and they got picked up by KHQ to keep doing it in a podcast format. And it's great. They talk about Spokane, so shout out to them.
Yeah.
But the fact that I just feel so proud and so grateful to listeners who voted, because they make you register and all this kind of stuff. So thank you for everybody who registered and took the time to vote for the Spokane Soccer Show. And yeah, so be sure to follow, subscribe on Spotify, Apple, YouTube. Be sure to rate and review, because that's always a big help too. And until then, thank you for listening, and thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us.
Don't forget your candy.
Woo!
All right.